Welcome to the Time CNC Podcast, your go-to show for precision, efficiency, and innovation in CNC manufacturing. We're here to help you cut time in all of your CNC endeavors. Whether you're a CNC enthusiast, CAD/CAM aficionado, or into robotics, this podcast is for you. Join us as we explore cutting-edge perspectives on machining metal parts. Discover the perfect tools and streamline your production processes. Precision meets progress on the Cutting Time CNC Industry Podcast. And now, here's your hosts, Al Martins and Stephanie Bate.
You're the perfect co-host. Thank you, Stephanie.
Hello. How is everybody tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Good.
Another beautiful day.
Yes, we have another very exciting episode.
Excellent. So tell us who is our guest today?
We have the lovely Magalie Jackson today, which is very, very exciting. And
Excellent.
you usually ask the title, so I'll just already get on there. So it's Unlocking Efficiency, the total adoption or the slow adoption of tool management systems in USA.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Steph. Let's get Magalie on the stage.
Have a good show.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hey, Magalie.
Val.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and you?
Me too. I'm doing great. Another lovely evening. It's nice and warm where I'm at. So it's always a pleasure to have good weather, and it changes the mood of people, doesn't it?
Especially in Canada, we tend to have rough winter here.
Yes, we always look forward to the 3 weeks of summer. And
Don't jinx us.
well, I think June 21st, the days start getting shorter, don't they?
I don't want to do it.
It's all details. Who cares? Well, Magalie, thanks for joining us. Thanks for coming on. And I've been wanting to have you on for a long time because, tool management is near and dear to me. I certainly been thinking about that for a long, long time. And I've always wondered about the title. Why has it been in North America, especially, so slow to adopt? And, I think credentially, you're very well equipped to help us with those answers.
Well, thank you, Al, and thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be part of your podcast. So I'm extremely excited about the next hour.
Oh, great. So tell us, Magalie, tell the audience about you and how you got where you are right now.
Perfect. So yes, a little bit about me. So I'm Magalie Jackson. I was born and raised in France, so it's not a Quebec accent. It's a French accent from France. So
Excellent.
I am from Lorraine, which is a region located in the northeast of France between Strasbourg and Paris, for the one who knows a little bit about the France geography. Being based close to Germany, actually German is my first foreign language, and English, it's my second foreign language. So I studied international business and supply chain management in France, and I moved to the US in about 2007, where I spent most of my time in Chicago. So before joining the Sandvik group, I worked with mostly European medium-sized company that were looking their business in North America with a focus, of course, on United States, but also Canada and Mexico. So
Sure.
I operated in industries like finance, energy, retail, and for over a decade, I worked in the software industry where I built my expertise. So my main focus back then was to identify, develop, and secure new business opportunity to drive company growth, and also develop, implement the go-to-market strategy, ways of working, building a sales team, most likely hunters versus farmer, and also integrating marketing operation to close the feedback loop between sales and marketing. And another point that might be interesting is being European, operating in North America, I also was the bridge between two cultures. And as you may know, Al, I'm sure you know that the European ways of working could differ from the American ways. So same with the go-to-market strategy, customer approach, and customer expectations. So that was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
then about 6 years ago, I joined the Sandvik group. So for the audience who is not familiar with Sandvik, we are a global high-tech engineering group with approximately 44,000 employees operating in about 150 countries. And we are customer-centric group providing unique expertise and solution for the manufacturing industry, but also for the mining and infrastructure industry. We are known for our extensive investment in research and development, customer insight, and a deep knowledge of all about industrial processes, digital solution. So we have world leading position in the mining, rock processes and solution, as well as manufacturing and machining solutions. So that's the Sandvik group. Now, I first joined the group as the sales director at TDM System for the North American market,
Sure.
and TDM stands for Tool Data Management.
Mhm.
TDM System has its headquarters in Tübingen in Germany and is the leading software provider for managing tool data in the metal cutting industry. And for over 30 years, the focus of TDM System is on solution and service for the entire life cycle of tool data. I won't go any deeper as to today's
We
topic in the podcast, so I don't want to steal the thunder here.
no, that's okay. We have 10 questions that we typically go through, but again, we don't have to go through them all. We'll try. We like to keep things in an hour. It gives our audience the ability to use Apple or Spotify later and listen to it while they're on their riding lawnmower or whatever they may be listening to the podcast, or even in the shop.
Okay.
So you
Yes,
have
so
some interesting credentials.
yeah, and actually after TDM, because I was operating from the US, but now I'm close from you because I moved in 2022 to Mississauga, where we have our Canadian headquarters as the general manager for Sandvik Corement. So, and as you probably know, as well as the audience, Sandvik Corement core business is supplying tooling solution to the world's engineering industry. So we have over 80 years now of expertise in the cutting tool industry and about 8,000 employees also operating in 150 countries. And again, I mentioned Sandvik is big in R&D and investing in R&D. We under Sandvik Corement have over 1,700 patents, and we launch impressively, and I don't know if you know this data, but 2,500 new products per year, which is quite
Wow,
impressive.
that is very
So
impressive.
so yes, so now we kind of detach ourselves for the cutting tool. We're still selling cutting tool, but it's not only that. We also provide industry solution, digital machining knowledge is also full part of the way we service our customer. And we have a keen focus on sustainability and cost savings. And voila, a little bit
Well,
about myself.
it makes a lot of sense. I think our audience will understand why you will have a good understanding of the industry we're in, and potentially a perspective that comes, as you say, from Europe and North America. Being in Chicago since 2007, that gives you, a pretty good window in the world of, TDM, and understanding what the market was perceived like, and where it's going. Those are some questions, obviously, that we'll be able to answer through the questions. But yeah, very happy to have you. And we've been working together for quite a while, and certainly in your Sandvik role, we've been working together too. So I've appreciated the cooperation that we've been able to achieve together.
Same here, Al. I really appreciate partnership, collaborating. It's key
It is.
for today and tomorrow's success.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into the questions. I'm gonna slide these glasses on here.
Aha.
So, question one: can you start by explaining what tool management systems are and why are they important for business?
So, good question. To
Okay.
keep it simple, tool data management system is a central database that gather all your cutting tools data information covering the entire shop floor. So we go from product design, fixture management, process planning, NC programming, to inventory management, tool lifecycle management, presetter reconditioning, and all the way to monitoring machine performances. So tool data management system are important for businesses as it is one of the keys to sustainable business when considering the critical aspect of the digitalization of the shop floor for the future. So when you ask like the importance of it, I think tool management system significantly can advance the digital transformation in production by providing data quality, availability, transparency, and even traceability all around cutting tool. And that results in many continuous improvement and increasing efficiencies such as optimized time saved or optimized workflow and processes. Of course, for the buyer who are listening to this podcast, reduced cutting tool spending and also reduce quoting time for new job, for example. So it reduces cost while maintaining high quality in the production processes. So I would say there is many reasons why it is ensuring business sustainability. And I think that's key for any company owner or president is how do I make my business sustainable? So TDM or tool data management system is one of it, one of the reason of that sustainability. It's the hub of connectivity on your shop floor, and that's crucial for automation and unmanned production method. And a second aspect that it's worth mentioning, I think, looking at the current labor force, it secures the skill transfer and it secures the know-how of the shop floor in an accessible way for your resources, avoiding any loss of knowledge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to unpack in what you just said. I think, what tool data management means. You've encapsulate more than what the acronym is. But in 2007, when you got to Chicago, how many people knew what TDM was?
It was still a green field. It was still a green field, which that's the aspect that I love. It's the
Right,
discovering phase, teaching, educating the market about the tools, tomorrow's tool,
right,
what tomorrow is made of, and what they will need to be prepared for the challenges of tomorrow.
right. Well, I think that's huge, and still today, it's in our role to explain to people in North America, U.S., and Canada, TDM is not an acronym that's known by everybody. They once you mention it and you say, tool data management, then they start thinking many other things. But yeah, we'll get into that, and that kind of leads into question two, doesn't it? So, how widespread is the adoption of tool management systems in the U.S. compared to other countries?
So that's a good question. I can say that Germany always has been a leading country and an early adopter when we look at new technologies and shop floor digitalization. So I can confidently say that Europe is leading in terms of adoption of tool data management versus North America. Canada has shown some good adoption rates with medium-sized companies, while large corporations in the US have recognized the necessity of such a tool. So it is, I think it's difficult to put an exact metric. However, I can tell that the aerospace industry in North America is showing a keen interest in such a tool, as well as the oil and gas industry.
Yeah.
While the automotive industry is one of the top industry embracing this technology in Europe. Um, an industry maybe a little behind that will also greatly benefit from such a solution is the medical industry. And we start to see some interest there.
Hmm.
I would say that looking at customer segment, you would be surprised that companies from all size are finding benefit in tool data management, from 20 employees to 1,000 and from 10 machines to hundreds. So it's all about finding the right approach and the initial offer with the end in mind.
Exactly, and how it works together. In our research with Tool Manager IQ, we have to agree Germany is the dominant adopter of tool management systems, but they're also, I think, ahead of the cycle because most of this software comes from Germany. The main players are German, so they've had a little bit longer time to do that educational process where that hasn't been true in North America. But then in our study, Japan and South Korea were ahead of the US as well in their adoption rates. And I thought that was also interesting that on on their manufacturing side, they believe tool management is a top priority. Yeah.
I mean, the Asian market are known to be very structured, organized when we look at Japan, South Korea. And that could be also one of the reasons why they saw the benefit maybe sooner than other markets in such a solution.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is interesting. And another reason to have multiple languages in software so
Oh,
you can
yes.
get those different markets, right? All right. So again, getting into question 3. What are the key benefits that businesses can expect from implementing a tool management system? I think you touched on it a little bit, but there's a lot more here to unpack.
Yes, there's a lot because tool management system can covering many feature function aspect of the shop floor. So let's start with the fundamentals. So you have quality data managed centrally, accessible to everyone. That's the base of the tool management system. So each department will find in a structured and pragmatic way the information they are looking for, allowing efficient planning and preparation for production. So if we start with the programming department, so picture a company that has thousands of NC programs and a few NC programmers using different CAM solutions. You can create a tool assembly in minutes, map it to fit each one of your CAM solution requirements, and create a program so your tool and your program simultaneously get to the correct machine with all required data, such as graphics, preceding information, feed and speed, tool life, and more. So access to accurate data can reduce programming and job setup time significantly. So we have
Mhm.
seen customer with a reduction of 25% in those area. We have seen companies that have grown quite a bit and maintain the same number of NC programmer leveraging tool management system. So, so that's for around that CAM modular aspect. Now, if we look at the logistic department of a tool management system, so such system can easily reduce cutting tool spending, as I mentioned before, improve
Mhm.
efficiency in the ordering process by connecting to your cabinet, your vending machine. You have improved stock visibility, so you know exactly where is what, and you won't waste time and energy searching for item on your shop floor. So you are getting one step closer to just in time. You can even go all the way to shared tools. We've seen that share tools in case of emergency between production sites. So this transparency at the logistic level increase efficiency and enable the company to again maintain high quality standard. So here are already two aspects where you can see some of the benefit from the tool data management. Now, if we
Yep.
step back and we look overall, so overall, you looking at we are looking at automated production method. So a tool management system will create reduction in human error, reduction in machine downtime, optimization of machine utilization, and more reliable production. So Your tool data management system ideally can generate critical insights on your production and processes so you and your team can make better decisions. So transparency, traceability will always allow continuous improvement. And that enables the user to do more with less. And everybody loves to do more with less, especially nowadays. And they can share best practice, production standard, methodology, information, and of course, data. So
Exactly. Well, how does that, translate? I mean, there's again, in a short time, you've brought up so many different avenues that we can travel. This podcast could be hours. But let's say Joe's machine shop. No, let's say Big Al's machine shop. And Big Al's machine shop needs to benefit from a tool management system. I think one of the things that you mentioned clearly is just having an idea where the tools are, right? Because you can be in the shop and, Frank has the tools in his toolbox and Fred has them on his machine and nobody seems to know where they are. So just being able to reduce the time of hunting down a tool is a huge benefit.
and Al, how many customer or shop floor we visited, you visited, I visited, when you see tools everywhere. And when people are looking for tools, there is duplicate tools, there is tool here, tool there. Discovery, the haha moment. Oh, I found it. It's in that drawer. That happened quite a lot.
All the time. All the time. Where's that 7/8 end mill I've been looking for?
Let's buy another one.
It's in my bottom drawer. Or great for the tool companies just to buy another one, and then they find out they have 15 of them somewhere, like squirrels hoarding them in the corner. So yeah, that anyway. That I digress. All right, let's get to question 4. What are the main challenges and barriers that companies face when adopting tool management systems in the States?
So I think so first of all, I think we turn around that idea. Not all tool data management offer the same function and they have the same feature, but we need to know where we're going, like where we want to go. So I think the first challenge is often the perception of change and the new thing. So humans don't like changes and we might be reluctant to such solution. So it is understanding the company pain points and addressing them with, I would call like a starter pack. Keep
Sure.
it simple, reassure the user that this is a help, not a burden, and draw the bigger picture, the final stage. So that's kind of the first challenge, I would say, the perception of change and new thing. The second barrier is often, of course, nothing surprising here, but the cost associated with such a solution. If you are not familiar with the system, you will see it first as a cost versus an investment. So again, keep it simple, understand the bigger picture and what we are seeking to achieve. Once we overcome the cost objection and we establish a solid ROI or return on investment, the implementation can be seen as the next challenge. So it takes time, resources to input the data into the system. Quality data is critical. And what is one thing that a company might be reluctant to do is taking resources away to work on such an implementation. And that's another reason why company could naturally move forward. So keep in mind that your supplier might provide support during this step, such as data service, anything that will help to import, implement, populate those data. And I would say the last challenge that we've seen or that the company could face also is the turnover of their talent. So the customer, as we know nowadays, I mean, we used to have people loyal to a company for 20 years. It's the new generation might be changing, and now the loyalty is 3 to 5 years, hopefully more. But the customer must establish a team leader and a train-the-trainer program internally to help with the turnover. So if someone left, someone the resources knows how the system function, and if the person leaves and the solution is not yet implemented, it's easy not to have any disruption if we have a trainer program or a team leader, etc. So those are kind of the challenges that I can see or barrier for such a solution.
Yeah, and I think you said it right. What are the costs and ROI, which really leads us into our next question. But what are the costs of not having something in place, which you've talked about, right? Employee retention, people leaving. That is a problem. For every 5 skilled people that are leaving industry and retirement, there's only 2 replacing them, or 3. So we know that the educational system is not ready and has not adapted, especially in North America. We're really have gone backwards. Machine shops and are looking for apprentices, and they just don't exist. So having automation, and I think tool management systems lend itself very well into the world of automation that we're speaking of, right?
Correct. So automation, I think, helping what I mentioned before, the unmanned production method. So how we do more with less, and we have less resources. How can we produce more, maintain activity, and grow the activities?
Right, and less resources also are personnel and people in the job place. So the ROI. So it kind of leads into the next question: what are the costs of implementing a tool management system compared to the potential return on investment? So the typical ROI question, and there's different management systems out there. Some are more expensive than others, but I guess there's always a baby step, I suspect.
So the typical ROI question and the typical "it depends" answer. No. So
Yeah.
no, I think so. Once the solution is implemented, we've seen many ROI within 3 to 6 months, if not less. So the solution paid for itself many times. The ROI will vary based on how much connectivity you have implemented. Did you focus on the CAM and simulation aspect? Did you focus on the logistics solution? Did you do both? Did you connect with your manufacturing asset? Are you connecting multiple sites? Because now if you're connecting multiple sites, well, your ROI will increase quite a bit as well. So all of that can play in your ROI. So we recommend focusing on the quick wins. Again, this solution, when presenting to a company, could be overwhelming, but focus on the quick wins. Where are your major pain points that once fixed could bring the most ROI? And of course, the vendor of the solution is here to help you identify those pain points and to guide you through what are the best aspects of the tool data management you should start with and how the implementation should look like. But confidently, I can say that once the solution is implemented, the ROI tend to be quite short. And again, paid for itself many times. That's quite sure.
Yeah, and again, it really depends on really how many bases you're covering with the initial implementation and where you want to take it to. So there's that focus, I think, right at the very beginning when people are looking at management systems like this, is where do they want to go with it? And that'll help answer the question of the return on investment.
And it's always like start with the end in mind. Like what's the ideal picture and backtrack to where you should start.
Right. And that can be a challenge just because many people are new to tool management. So they don't always know what that endpoint is. And that's where we have to come in and explain and train and help them resolve in their minds. Oh, yeah. I understand now.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. So technical advancements. How have recent technological advancements influenced the development and adoption of tool management systems?
So I think the recent technological advancements have positively impacted tool data management, since we have now more and better options to connect through the shop floor with existing up-to-date solution and platform. So now that we see other digital solutions performing on the shop floor, the tool data management solution becomes the needed central point of connection. So many of these technological advancements are made considering often like one area of the shop floor. So one particular product, but at times lacking connection with other system or assets, or maybe providing a limited connection with the rest of the shop floor. So your tool data management becomes the source of information, collecting all the necessary data and providing valuable insight through the shop floor. So I would say it's thanks to the technological advancements, thanks to Industry 4.0, digitalization, um, the tool data management can connect better and easier to the rest of your shop floor. So positively impacted tool data
Yeah.
management.
Yeah, and I think to reinforce that, it there's a symbiotic relationship between tool management and machine tools, and of course the tools themselves. But in the last few years, we've seen quite a few changes. So MT Connect and Fanuc Focus, for instance, are commonplace, and if not in every new machine, it's an option in every new machine, and that really ties in to a life and to a management. And then you have things like auto crib and tool cribwise and other vending machines in the shop floor that try to help organize the tool chaos that can exist in some shops. So I think in the last few years, it's starting to become, maybe it wasn't their vision to have tool management, but because of all of the incremental technology changes, I think it's putting it in their minds. Would you say?
Correct. As if someone has to get all those data somewhere. And I think when we look at what's the common things linking all your asset on your shop floor, it's a cutting tool that goes from product design all the way to the machine and pass all the way to the reconditioning.
Yeah.
So that's the perfect entity, I would say, to do that work. The tool data management system is, I would say, by default, the best solution to connect those data through the shop floor. And like you mentioned, RFID, all those new technology help the traceability and the tracking of all the movement on the shop floor.
Yeah, that's it's coming, and of course, the low hanging fruit is AI. AI is everywhere, and AI is becoming a part of every piece of software. So even selecting the right tools or anticipating, I mean, you can't go in your car if you've got, whatever, Google or Apple CarPlay, without it saying, I think you want to go here next. How do you know that? They know everything. So, you can imagine, with the technology today, I think you might want to have this tool. And here's where it would probably be. I can see that coming.
Correct. And Al, it helps with the skill gap. So all the recommendation that we are trying to provide as in all expert through the value chain is needed from the customer, from the company, from the manufacturing side, because they are the ones suffering from the skill gap. So any recommendation that those solutions can provide are highly appreciated. You don't want someone crashing like a $1 million machine because the wrong tool was selected or the wrong tool assembly.
Exactly. I forgot the tap drill size for a 1/4 inch 20. Yeah, that would be bad. That would be really bad. And there's a lot of tools to get around that today.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's look at number 7. The time is going by real quick here. So industry-specific adoption. Are there certain industries that are more likely to adopt tool management systems? If so, why?
So I've seen it previously. We see all type of customer, from 20 employees to 1,000, from less than 10 machine to hundreds. So a tool data management system should be flexible and adjustable to the customer needs. So that being said, of course, we will see some solutions that are more present in some industry more than others. So general engineering is one we see, a machine workshop, but we tend to see more adoption from the aerospace industry. And again, it depends of the geographic region. I'm looking at the US aerospace industry, where it's probably one of the early adopter. Also, industry working with complex application or a large tooling budget. Industry with expensive parts. I will also mention industry that are often quoting new project. That's key. If you are often quoting new project, you want to work fast, you want to be performant, you want to maintain high quality, you want to avoid human error. So industry that are quoting new project and the one that also provide turnkey solution. Looking at the past years, the interest has grown in all industry and all customer types. So it's really something that is, I would say, spreading out, more awareness on such solution. Not there yet compared to, I would say, some European country or Japan or
Sure.
South Korea, as you mentioned, but
Yeah.
slowly getting there.
I agree, and I think, earlier you mentioned the medical industry as well. That it is a growing piece of the marketplace. I know for sure in our world, medical adoption, medical industries who are producing, whether it's stints for your body or screws or hips or shoulders. A lot of these companies are looking at technology to help them get better.
Correct.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. But what's also interesting is why do we say that? And obviously the easy answer for aerospace is those parts cost a lot of money, right?
Yes,
So they're not making you know a small bracket.
true.
their their parts cost a lot of money, and there's a lot at stake, and they can't keep an assembly line working, on hold, as it were, waiting for a component. So wasting half a day looking for a tool is not prudent, or even waiting for it to arrive because you found out that you don't have those inserts in place because nobody told you. Oh, here's the last one.
Oops.
Oops. Yeah, somebody gonna get hurt. Okay, so let's go into some case studies. I hope you have something here. Can you
Mhm.
share some success stories or case studies of companies that have efficiently implemented tool management systems?
So I love case studies because those are stories that really, like, I'm passionate about tool data management, and when I see case study, I think it's also gonna echo and illustrate a little bit of the previous question about which industry. So I thought about couple of case study that go over the tool data management could fit anybody, sort of. So when I work at TDM, we had this amazing success story that I like to share. So the
Yeah.
reason why I like this one in particular, it's, again, as I mentioned, often the misperception of a tool data management system is that it's for a large company, it's a complex solution. But in this example, we are looking at a small aerospace company with 11 CNC machines, and they were able to achieve 45% of reduction in scrap and fewer collision. They had 26% in reduction in tool usage and 365 hours saved per year in setup time, and an easier, quicker way to manage NC program. So the company approached such a solution with the end in mind, like I mentioned, growth.
Hmm.
So they
Yeah.
knew that we don't want to stay small. We want to grow. We want to have more machine. We want to have more work. We want to have more employee. We just want to grow.
Yeah.
And their ultimate goal was to grow, and they wanted to be set to handle more machine, more project, more work. So, and that's often something I recommend to those companies that are maybe smaller size company, but their goal is to go to the next step, start now, because the more you wait, the harder it's going to get. You don't want to wait to have tools everywhere and have created like a messy shop floor with information everywhere. Like, you want to start as soon as possible. So that company were looking for like standardization, integration with other system, of course, transparency, collecting production data where what was the customer was looking for. That's what they were looking for. And their process information was continuously flowing back to TDM, and all relevant systems were linked. So TDM took them to the next level and helped them to improve their productivity, and now they were able to grow, and their start with the end in mind, growing. They are able to achieve it actually successfully and smoothly. They are set for the future, set for sustainable business. So that was one of the success story for a smaller company.
Yeah. Well, that's
I,
fantastic. I think. I mean, it's really so 45% difference. You say?
yes, in a fewer collision and reduction in scrap. So
Wow.
imagine with 11 machines. So imagine now if you target larger company.
Right.
And
So
and I
how
have
would
so I have
we?
wo- oh, go ahead.
No, no. I was just going to say, how did it reduce collisions? When you think of tool data management, you're thinking of a database that tells you where a tool is. How does it reduce those types of incidents?
So you have your CAM simulation system integrated to that. You have your bill of material. You have all your documentation covering the whole value chain. So basically, by integrating your CAM simulation solution, you can impact the process and the quality, selecting your tool, creating your tool assembly, creating your bill of material, avoiding error. And I think that's really was the key.
Mhm.
They were focusing around the CAM simulation aspect and managing multiple program, etc.
So with the tool data management system, then they're implementing a digital replica of the tool, of the extension, of the actual holder, and then visualizing that in their CAM system. Is that what you're suggesting?
Correct. So it's what we call the digital twin.
Right.
So in your tool data management system, you can import, and we have in Sandvik Corman, we have actually a very good catalog with high level of data quality when we look at that digital twin. And
Sure.
importing those digital twin allow you to build your tool assembly and send it to the CAM solution, and having almost a live mapping to make sure that you have all the data that your CAM and simulation system requires, and that avoids error down the line.
And I think that's a huge point, and that's why I dwell on this a little bit. Is tool data management is just not a boring database. There is way more to this, because you have the objection sometimes. Well, we have an ERP system. How do you talk to somebody about that and say, well, maybe there's a different reason? How do you take that objection? I throw
So,
that at
so was the ERP built around your cutting tool?
you? Yeah.
Most likely that person is going to say no. What is the main purpose of your ERP system? What is the main purpose of the tool data management? And I think this is where we need to guide the customer through the understanding, and we need to educate them on, make sure that each solution that covers your shop floor, you understand the purpose, and you don't try to customize or push a system that was not initially made for that purpose, and now you try to push it to cover another purpose, because again, you will have a solution that doesn't cover all the feature and function that your team on the shop floor needs. So when we look at tool data management, since the past 45 minutes, we cover the logistic aspect, the cutting tool spanning. So the buyer will find their interest of getting to know the stock level, the cost, the cutting tools, spending per year, per month, per week, per day. The NC programmer, like we just covered, they will find their interest looking at the digital twin. This is great. I have my digital twin ready to go, my tool assembly, my bill of material. I don't need to create that from scratch, and I don't need to create my digital twin or to tweak it because I don't have quality data. So all of that, when you look at the tool data management system, it provides everything that is required around the cutting tool data for the shop floor. So the ERP system will have a lot of gaps, and the ERP cannot provide a digital twin. ERP probably might not know what is a cutting tool digital twin.
Well, sure. It's the simulated component. And I think, yeah, that term is relatively new in the world of CAD/CAM, but certainly if you have machine sim, you'll know what that is. And basically a replica. And I dwell again on this because, machine information and tool management and how all these things work together obviously will create an ROI that is not, a customer will say, well, I have all my tools in a spreadsheet, or I have it in an ERP system. Well, those aren't dedicated systems designed around this, and they're certainly not going to be able to give you information about the solid replica or the digital twin of a tool to help you understand what the repercussions are in your machine simulation.
Correct.
So that's where I can see that 45% savings really came into play.
And I have another success story, the same way we cover, I think, the CAM simulation and the importance of the digital twin and that replica, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, I think another success story that is worth to feature, we had a customer very forward thinking. And actually, it's a Canadian customer. I like the Canadian folks are very forward thinking.
Right.
The company operates in the pump and valve industry. And I like that success story since they understood the importance of tool data management over 20 years ago. So it was over 20 years ago, way before anyone even realized how such a solution will become a central aspect of Industry 4.0, a central aspect of digitalization. They understood 20 years ago. And they started by implementing the logistic module, and they save about $600,000. So back 20 years ago, that's a nice amount of money to save.
It is.
And
it is.
they were able to standardize their supplier by 15%. They relocate resources from to one buyer. And since then, in 20 years, they built their puzzles. They implemented their value chain. So they started with the logistics, and then they added the CAM system. And then they kept adding module from that tool data management solution to really cover the entire value chain and to see benefits. And they were smart about the implementation in a way that baby steps, quick wins, and they continued to implement other modules one after the other to, at the end, have an amazing comprehensive solution in place covering their whole shop floor processes.
Fantastic.
That story was nice too because it was such like long time ago.
But it's and history has spoken. I mean, they've obviously benefited from this dramatically. If they saved $600,000 the first year, imagine in the 20 years. And I think you're right about having those quick wins because it kind of builds confidence on the next one and the next development, exactly. and so on and so forth. All right, so let's get on to number 9, future trends. What are the future trends and developments in tool management systems that we should be aware of?
So I might not eat all, but I think the customer will, and I don't have any crystal ball either, but I think the customer, I wish, the customer will request, I believe, more and more support during the implementation phase. So especially populating the data. I think that's where, as I mentioned in the objection previously, I think that's where the customer needs and expectation will be around. Offering data services to assist them in their implementation will be something more and more requested. And I think their expectation to have a tool data solution that becomes a shop floor management solution is also something that we should see more. So extending a little bit that through the entire value chain, as I mentioned. Another trend that we could see in the connectivity is the connectivity between sites. So I think the customer will want to have more connectivity between different sites because we are in an era of acquisition, merger and acquisition. So they might look at dropping their ROI and connecting multiple sites, connectivity with their supplier, also connectivity with their customer. So communication with their customer might be also something they will be looking for. And I would say last but not least, the integration of AI. You did mention AI previously. And on this aspect, I'm very curious to see how tool data management solution will leverage AI, integrate AI to provide even more valuable insight and recommendation.
I agree, and we all have been seeing a lot of changes in that area, and in the area of robotics and how that's going to affect things as well. It's just and that's why we have to look at it as a shop. How does it benefit us now, and take that first step, because the industry is going to change in one form or another. Our circumstances are going to change. Your shop will get new equipment. But as you said earlier, starting now as opposed to waiting, you could wait forever. When is the right time to buy a computer? Well, if you need it, get it now, because the new one's already being built by the time you've bought it. You're never going to be in a position to get it. So anyway, that is a bit of a crystal ball. What are the trends coming? But I also think, sorry, Magalie, I also think that integration to external systems are important, whether that's GTC or whether that's XML or whether that's internal to the CAM system that people are using is going to be important.
Correct. And to echo on what you mentioned about the connection with external system, I think we are in an era where customers are looking for solutions. Nothing is transactional anymore. Even us, Sandvik Roman, we are not only selling tools, we're not only selling cutting tools, we are providing solutions. And I think it's this trend of the customer is looking for solution and looking at external connection. Now you expand your product, you expand your offer to a full solution.
Yeah, it has to be solution based, and there a lot of CAM systems have some kind of tool management inside them, but they're not enterprise wide, and certainly most of them don't have all the bells and whistles potentially that you're looking for down the road. But still, taking what a CAM system has and integrating it into a data management system, I think is something that's really important down the line.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're getting to the last question. I can't believe we made it. So, advice for businesses. What advice would you give businesses that are considering adopting a tool management system, but are hesitant to take the plunge?
So, as you can hear for the past hour, I'm very passionate with tool data management platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm confident that it is the future of manufacturing industry. So if you are a manufacturing company, you must seriously consider such a solution as a differentiator and as a path to sustainable business. So my advice is not to let such a solution overwhelm you. You want to start where the quick wins are, where you can easily implement the solution and see a high ROI. Look at your pain point, your bottleneck, and for example, like we talk about a company using multiple CAM solution might find a good advantage using a solution that have one central base with all the programming information. So moving from one to the other is done seamless. Start with the end in mind. And when evaluating a supplier, look at the connectivity of their solution, their resource to support you, and how long have they been providing such a solution. So of course, coming from TDM, I have biases because TDM, we the leader and the pioneer in developing such a platform for over 30 years now. But my advice is really be committed to such implementation, and you will see phenomenal results.
Okay, so if a company is hesitant and he says, well, I have a CAM system, they support tooling, I don't need anything else. How would you talk to them? What would you say to them? How would you respond to them?
So if they have one CAM solution, I mean, do they have any bottleneck? What are the challenges they are facing? Is it everything smoothless? Is it the CAM module the way to start with? If you are fine with your CAM solution, if you are only using one system, you have all your database, that might not be where you want to start. How is your logistic aspect? So I think there is a little bit of more diving into that, understanding their ways of working. Most of the time, the natural objection from any company is like, we don't need it. Because of course, if everything is working fine and well or efficient enough for them to deliver the product, that's their perception. But what type of continuous improvement can be done? And also plugging together your logistic aspect to the CAM solution, what type of improvement can you see in the future that you don't have now, that you're not aware now? So I think don't let the first perception and thinking that everything works well stopping you to investigate such solution. Be curious. I always tell any type of customer partner, be curious. Our industry has so much to offer. Entertain new things, entertain being educated about a solution. So be curious is one of the advice I would also point out.
Absolutely. You don't know what you don't know. And if you have a CAM system and you've got a programmer and he's making the programs what you believe to be efficiently and it's working now. But imagine if you had something in place where he isn't duplicating efforts, right? That extra 10 minutes on a program and he's making 2 or 3 programs a day, you start adding those up and you start looking at potentially when that programmer retires, the loss of that knowledge. If you could save that time and invest that effort that he's put into a tool management system, now the future onboarding process will become a lot easier. All the time savings that have been made and all the future tools, selections, and the rest would all be held in a beautiful database, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Transfer knowledge, very important nowadays.
Yeah. And I think when I think of the hesitancy, just that point alone is a huge change, because small shops on average can take advantage of a tool management system. It doesn't have to be the Boeings of the world, the Airbuses of the world. It can be Joe's machine shop. I think that's a big benefit for sure.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've got through our questions, Magalie. Do you have any other thoughts or wisdom that you want to give our audience?
I'm impressed with the time management here. Because you're right, we could speak for hours on tool management solution. No, I think you said it well with the CAM solution and past the first perception. And again, I think on my hand to end this amazing podcast, I just said be curious. That will be my ending word.
Well, brilliant. And that's a good way to end it. Always looking to achieve better things, and being curious is part of that for sure. Absolutely. Okay, Magalie. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It was a real pleasure having you. The time went by, as you can hear my clock, really,
Very
really
fast.
quickly. Faster than I even expected. It was a pleasure having you. Thanks for
It was a
spending this time
pleasure.
with us.
It was a pleasure to be part of your podcast, and I'm glad that you thought about me about this topic. So
It was an honor.
thank you.
Thank you, Magalie. We'll talk to you again.
You take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Where's my co-host? Hey, Steffi. Welcome back.
Thank you. Great show. Awesome job.
Oh, thank you. Wow, that went fast. That really went fast. It was nice to have Magalie on board. It was a great topic, I have to say. All right, Steffi. So who's on next week?
Got a very exciting episode. I'll put it on the screen. But it's CNC communication, the ins and outs of DNC for CNC. That's a tongue twister with Steve Anderson.
Okay. Well, that's excellent. I look forward to seeing Steve on board. I think he's probably the most knowledgeable person in the world of direct numerical control. If you look up DNC, sometimes you get all kinds of weird and unusual things. But yes, direct numerical control and CNC and how they work together. I don't think there's anybody else in the world who's more, at least that I know, that's more knowledgeable in this area. So we look forward to having him on.
It'll be awesome to see. I bet it will be hard to keep into the hour.
We'll do our best, as we do every time. Thank you for keeping me on schedule, Steffi. Good to have you with me. And yeah, let's say goodnight.
Okay, play the outro and then goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Cutting Time CNC Podcast, where precision meets progress. We hope you've gained valuable insights into CNC manufacturing and are inspired to optimize your processes for efficiency and innovation. For more resources and to connect with Al or Stephanie, visit us at cuttingtimecncpodcast.com. The link is in the show description. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in CNC manufacturing. Make sure you follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite player to get notified about new episodes of the Cutting Time CNC Industry Podcast.